yesterday when Congregation Emanu-El co-president John Holman asked me why I pursued the path to be a rabbi educator. I answered, I love to learn. I have so much fun preparing for classes I teach, whether I'm putting together a source sheet for Saturday morning Torah study or designing a Passover-themed scavenger hunt for third graders. I'm thrilled when a question sends me down a rabbit hole of research and then raises even more questions along the way. And, at the risk of sounding cheesy or cliche, I love learning from my students most of all. The Talmud records that Rabbi Hanina said, I have learned much from my teachers and even more from my friends, but from my students, I have learned most of all. In my experience as an educator, Rabbi Hanina's words ring true. My students teach me knowledge, of course. They illuminate elements of a text that never would have occurred to me. And my middle school students, in particular, teach me new vocabulary, like riz and cap, words that I'm sure are already outdated by the time that I'm saying them. But I'm seeing a nod. They're already outdated. Now I know. But far more than knowledge, my students continually help me learn how to be a rabbi, an educator, and a human being. They teach me when to keep them on task and when to stop my planned lesson and listen to them. They show me what I am missing and help me to see from their perspective. My students remind me that my job as an educator is to see them, to hear them, and to be responsive to their needs. Our Torah portion, Parshat Pinchas, tells a pivotal story of teachers learning from their students. In this case, our teachers are God and Moses, and their students are the 5 daughters of Zelophehad. I want to highlight 3 important lessons in education that this story can teach us. The first lesson comes before the story even begins, in the names of the daughters. While we usually lump them together as the daughters of Zelophehad, the Torah actually differentiates and names each sister. In our text full of nameless female characters, here the Torah calls them each by their individual names: Machlah, Noah, Holga, Milcah, and Tirzah. Lesson number 1, know each student by name. Know them as individuals and as entire human beings. Machlah, Noah, Hogla, Milcah, and Tirzah are troubled by the laws of inheritance that God has revealed to Moses. According to the law, land is only passed down from father to son. However, their father Zelophehad has died with no sons. The sisters recognize the injustice that they will not receive their father's promised portion in the land of Israel. But they do not resign themselves to following the unfair law. Instead, the 5 sisters muster up courage and take their case to Moses, the priests, the chieftains, and the entire community of Israel. The sisters speak up in Numbers 27, verse 4, declaring, "Let not our father's name be lost to his clan just because he had no son. Give us a holding among our father's kinsmen." Moses, in turn, brings the legal conundrum to God, and God responds to Moses, "The plea of Zelophehad's daughters is just. You should give them a hereditary holding among their father's kinsmen. Transfer their father's share to them." Remarkably, God accepts the rebuke from the daughters of Zelophehad. Even more remarkable still, God does not rule narrowly in their case. Instead, God responds to their plea by changing the law. God continues to instruct Moses, "Further, tell the Israelite people, if one dies without leaving a son, you shall transfer his property to his daughter. If he has no daughter, you shall assign his property to his brothers. If he has no brothers, you shall assign his property to his father's brothers. If his father had no brothers, you shall assign his property to his nearest relative, who shall inherit it. This shall be the law for the Israelites in accordance with Adonai's command to Moses. Machlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah have pointed out a flaw in the legal system, and God not only declares that they are right, but even goes on to correct it. This is lesson number 2. Have humility, like Moses, to know that you do not have all the answers. Have the humility, like God, to admit that you were wrong and are open to correction, and connection. See? I just proved my point. While we celebrate this story, commentators have been uncomfortable for centuries with these implications about God's teaching. If the daughters of Zelophehad are right, and God's Torah is perfect, why weren't the laws of inheritance written correctly in the first place? In a modern midrash, scholar Rivka Lubitch posits the same question, but her new answer is extraordinary. She writes the following conversation between a woman and God. She asked God, if Zelophehad's daughters spoke the truth, why didn't you write that in your Torah in the first place? For after all, you are truth and your Torah is truth, and your word endures forever. God answered her, there is truth that descends from on high, and there is truth that grows from below. Blessed is the generation in which truth from above meets truth from below. And this is what the psalm means when it says, truth will grow from the ground, and justice looks down from heaven. Truth will grow from the ground, and justice looks down from heaven. God's Torah could not be completed until Machlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah lifted up their truth, meeting God halfway. This is our final lesson, lesson number 3. Teaching is never complete when it is top down. Learning must be in partnership with students and teachers. The most important task of the educator is to cultivate a community of learning in which each learner feels empowered to let their own truths rise up. To summarize our 3 lessons: 1, know each person as an individual. 2, be humble and know that there is plenty that you do not know. 3, truth grows from below, and teaching is only complete when learners and educators meet in the middle. Our Torah has so much to teach us, and each one of us has our own unique Torah to share. I am so looking forward to getting to know each of you, to learn with you and learn from you, and to hear your truth and your Torah in the months and years ahead. Shabbat Shalom.